Hello, this is Del Chatterson and Michael Kent, crime writers with the Crime Writers of Canada Association, and we're both in Montreal. We've both written recent novels, a series of novels. Michael's is more of a police detective mystery, and mine are more crime drama. The series is called the Dale Hunter series of crime thrillers, and they're about a young entrepreneur in the 1980s international computer business. He's based in Montreal, but he's all over the world trying to fight crime and corruption and build his business and live well and prosper, as they say. It's partly based on my life. I was an entrepreneur in Montreal in the 1980s computer business and did business around the world. And so it's based a little bit on those stories. And what I've told people is that it's based on my life, but all the crime and drama is fiction, mostly, or allegedly, as my grandson. So I haven't yet been called on anything that shouldn't be in the book, and I haven't had nobody's suing me, so that's a good sign from my history. I'm originally an engineer, MBA from UBC and then McGill, and my hero Dale Hunter. Interestingly enough, is also from BC and did a second degree at McGill, I think. And he got into the computer business, and he has some difficulties with his partners, crooked customers, and he has the mafia. He gets dragged into money laundering and loan sharking and threats on his life, and kidnapping and a murder plot against him and his family. So it does get interesting, and it includes the books talk about the Montreal Mafia, and then I introduced the triads from Taiwan and Hong Kong, and in California and Las Vegas. So I have the books include some interesting stories that some of which I lived, and many of which I've improved on to make them more entertaining stories. So my background in writing, as I told people, I would have started sooner. I didn't really start writing until about 20 years ago. I started to get enthused about writing short stories. So I have a collection of short stories, which is up to 12 or 15 stories now in various stages of revision and rewrite. So I'm working on a collection, and they're more true life stories. And the novels are, as I said, based on my career a little bit in the computer industry as an entrepreneur. And the hidden message, which we talked about, is kind of in support of what I call enlightened entrepreneurship. And the first novel was called No Easy Money, and the subtitle is You Never Win Playing by the Rules. So that title and the subtitle appeal to a lot of people, including entrepreneurs. But I have to admit that the theme of you never win playing by the rules is actually what the bad guy says. And Dale Hunter tries to prove that he can succeed at business and do well playing within the rules. So that's part of what I call my preaching and promoting about enlightened entrepreneurship, is that you don't have to break the rules. You don't have to rip off people or customers or employees, suppliers, that you can work with legitimate partners and look after people and the planet and meet your social responsibilities while also succeeding at business. I won't make that long speech and preach now, but that is kind of buried in the book. So I previous to the fiction, I had written a couple of business books, which I just actually republished this year, 2020 editions of my guide to business plans and Don't Do It the Hard Way, which are more general business advice on how to start and run and succeed and even to exit your business happily, a graceful exit. So those books, some of the stories actually are in both the fiction and the novels and in the business book. So I've learned lessons from all that experience, and I've tried to include them in my advice to entrepreneurs, what to do, how to avoid the biggest mistakes that I and other entrepreneurs have made. And in fiction, I've just tried to make it a little bit more entertaining to read. So that's kind of my story and what the books are all about. Readers can, I mean, as you probably found as a writer, that you to your surprise, when you finally get up to your nerve to push it to an end and show it to somebody who's not a family or a friend, and some of the family and friend are quite unkind about their own. They say, don't quit your day job. You know, that's terrible. Don't even think about it. And then every once in a while somebody says, wow, that was really good. I enjoyed your book. Hey, I learned this. And they got it. So that's what keeps you going. Just take one good review is enough to keep you going for months at a time, and get started on the next one, I think. So that was part of the fun. And my first novel I started writing in 2015 in a departure lounge at the airport in San Diego, coming home from a vacation in California. And that was published in early 2018, and I've done 2 more in the series since then that were published over the next year and a half. And my career was more in small business. Sorry.
I've read 2 of your books and reviewed 2 of your books, which I enjoyed thoroughly. You can see from the text that you really know the business. So you just told us that you were in that business, and it shows in the book because it's realistic stuff. It's not total fiction. Of course, the dark side of the books, hopefully, is all fiction.
Yes.
I mean, if you tell me everything, I guess you'll have to kill me after, but it's well done and it's believable. The characters are believable.
Yeah,
so
I changed the names of all the criminals, and including my own name, I did change it. Dell became Dale. But yeah, it's funny because the other story I tell is that I had a career I was not much of an engineer, so I learned pretty quickly that I was never going to make a career in engineering. So I did work as an engineer for a couple of years, and then I went back to an MBA because business interested me more. And but I was interested in writing for a long time because I've read a lot, and like you said, Michael, you read something and think, hey, that's a good story. I think I have a story that I think I could write, and maybe somebody would be interested. So part of it is just a long history of storytelling and recognizing, reading everything from magazines to short stories to literary classics and all that sort of thing. So my career got sent in a different direction. In grade 11 in high school, I went into my first class in journalism, except that the teacher said, Chatterson, get out of here. You're in the university program, and this is a vocational course. So that was the end of my career in journalism. I went and took this course in geography, ended up becoming a mining engineer. So that's where my career, 50 years later, I came back to starting to write a little bit more. I've never done journalism, but I've written a lot for business, a lot of business articles. I've done a lot in social media. So my writing skills have been honed over time, and I'm a very critical reader. And as soon as you write a novel, it makes it impossible to read any novel without analyzing it to death, finding typos and other things that the editor should have fixed before they went to press. So that's kind of where I came from, where the stories come from. The readers, the novels, the business books are for entrepreneurs, and the novels are about entrepreneurs. So the reader profile is different. Entrepreneurs don't read for entertainment usually, unless they're on vacation on the beach. And then they do enjoy my books, but they don't read my books for information. Although they do appreciate the perspective, as you just said, Michael. I have the experience in business, both as a client, as a consultant, as an entrepreneur, and people can relate to that. And some of the readers who have no experience, even business people who say, wow, I didn't realize running your own small business was that complicated. Without the mafia, it's already a challenge. So when you add a little bit of the criminal element coming after your business, that makes it more interesting. So I do get a different readership for the business books, obviously, versus the novels. And the novels have a much wider appeal to different people, and some of them don't get the subliminal business messages that crime doesn't pay, or that you need to take care of people well, treat your employees well so that they will treat the customers well. All those kind of business lessons are a little bit buried, and I had to remove some of the business information, some of the lecturing about how to manage accounts receivable and so on. I have to turn it into a little bit more of a criminal episode so people get the point. It's not a sale until you get paid. So all that is kind of what makes it fun for me, but it's mostly delivering the same messages about how to succeed as an enlightened entrepreneur, taking care of people and the communities around you, as well as trying to be successful in business, which means growing a sustainable business. You can learn more if you're interested. DelvinChatterson.com. That's my full name. Everybody calls me Del. In business, I also write the books under the pen name of your Uncle Ralph. So my middle name is Ralph, so that explains the Delvin R. Chatterson. But if you look me up under Del Chatterson, Delvin R. Chatterson, or Delvin Chatterson, DelvinChatterson.com is where you'll find everything you might be interested to learn about me and the books. They're available for sale in ebooks, hardcover, softcover, everywhere, or in libraries if you'd rather borrow one and put it back. But I'd always appreciate a review. Good, bad, or indifferent, they all help readers know whether or not they should buy the book, and they help me write a better book next time. So,
Speaking of that, what's your next project? Are you still in the same series, or?
Yeah, in the series I have, I'm working on novel number 4, and I've changed the time frame to the present time, and Dale Hunter is now writing the story in the first person, but it's more about his buddy Frank the Fixer. I know you like Frank.
Yes.
So Frank is the buddy that Dale Hunter meets in the first novel. He's kind of a former Somalian refugee in Montreal who's a street kid who eventually becomes kind of a renegade enforcer of justice on both sides of the law. So he works with both the mafia and the police undercover. And by the third book, and now he's a private investigator. So he's become a little more legitimate, working on the side of good, not evil. And he and Dale Hunter are still buddies. So, but in the third novel, the fourth novel, it's Dale Hunter is narrating and describing his work with Frank the Fixer, but the episode is more Frank is the crime buster this time, a little bit more.
Do you find that first person gives it more immediacy? It gives you more punch, or?
First person is, yeah, it's a little different. I've kind of learned a little bit from reading the memoirs of Sherlock Holmes, which, if you may remember, were written by Dr. Watson. So Dr. Watson is writing in the first person about his friend Sherlock Holmes. So that kind of reinforced my approach to novel number 4. And in number 5, it's going to be a little more personal about Dale and his business challenges. And I haven't quite figured out what exactly the plot will be, but it's sort of based on a business disaster that I want to elaborate on a little bit. And it'll be more personal, and it's called, what did that call it? Crash landing, basically. It's how Dale's business crashes and how he survives or manages to pilot the crash to a safe landing. That's the theme for the 5th novel in the series. And then from that point, I've kind of set the stage so I can go back and forth over 30 years with 2 primary characters and go from there.
Well, if you're into this time frame, I mean, you can throw COVID in there. It's worse than the mafia. So
yeah,
that'll give you a good crash. And maybe if he survives, it'll teach a lot of people how to get out of this.
Yeah, I think the COVID pandemic, I think, is going to change everybody. We all now have to have pre-COVID and after COVID. It's interesting. We're doing this interview on 9/11, which is exactly 19 years ago. And that changed the world. Everything now is reference. The Twin Towers that were in movies up until that time are no longer available to show in the movies. So it becomes kind of a milestone for all of us. The year of the pandemic, 2020. So thank you, Michael, for your time, and thanks for listening to us. Crime Writers of Canada, Del Chatterson and Michael Kim. Bye for now.